Gentlemen, I am Nist, and welcome to a stream. Just a stream. Your average stream. I'll walk over. Observe this thing. This lovely stream that we have here today. Let me sit over here, actually. Quite a stream. Alright. It's time to read to you a story. A story that some of you may love, or some of you may hate. I don't know. I actually have a book here. I just tapped it there for ASMR effect. Reviews that this book has. Acerbic comedy, sexy romance, and a lightly played, extended meditation on big questions about life and death. Starred review from Horn Book. An achingly beautiful story about life and loss. School Library Journal, starred review. A smartly crafted and intellectual explosion of a romance. Readers will swoon on nearly every page. Green's signature style shines. His carefully structured dialogue and razor-sharp characters brim with genuine intellect, humor, and desire. A starred review from Kirkus. This is Green's best work yet. Publishers Weekly, starred review. Yes, hello, welcome to the stream. I'm going to read a book to you. Written by John Green. This book, it is called... Actually, let me change the title of the stream real quick here. There we go. That is the gimmick of today's stream. Chapter 1. Later in the winter of my 17th year, my mother decided I was depressed, presumably because I rarely left the house, spent quite a lot of time in bed, read the same book over and over, ate infrequently, and devoted quite a bit of my abundant free time to thinking about death. Whenever you read a cancer booklet or website or whatever, they always list depression among the side effects of cancer. But in fact, depression is not a side effect of cancer. Depression is a side effect of dying. Cancer is also a side effect of dying. Almost everything is, really. But my mom believed I required treatment, so she took me to see my regular Dr. Jim, who agreed that I was veritably swimming in a paralyzing and totally clinical depression, and that therefore, my meds should be adjusted, and also I should attend a weekly support group. This support group featured a rotating cast of characters in various states of tumor-driven unwellness. Why did the cast rotate? A side effect of dying. The support group, of course, was depressing as hell. It met every Wednesday in the basement of a stone-walled Episcopal church shaped like a cross. We all sat in a circle right in the middle of the cross, where the two boards would have met, where the heart of Jesus would have been. I noticed this because Patrick, the support group leader and only person over 18 in the room, talked about the heart of Jesus every freaking meeting. All about how we, as young cancer survivors, were sitting right in Christ's very sacred heart and whatever. So here's how it went in God's heart. The 6 or 7 or 10 of us walked/wheeled in, grazed at a decrepit selection of cookies and lemonade, sat down in the circle of trust, and listened to Patrick recount for the 1000th time his depressingly miserable life story. How he had cancer in his balls, and he thought he was going to die, but he didn't die, and now here he is, a full-grown adult in a church basement in the 137th nicest city in America, divorced, addicted to video games, mostly friendless, eking out a meager living by exploiting his cancer-tastic past, slowly working his way towards a master's degree that will not improve his career prospects, waiting, as we all do, for the sword of Damocles to give him the relief that he escaped those many years ago, when cancer took both of his nuts, but spared what only the most generous soul would call his life. And you too might be lucky. Then we introduced ourselves, name, age, diagnosis, and how we're doing today. I'm Hazel, I'd say when they get to me, 16. Thyroid originally, but with an impressive and long-settled satellite colony in my lungs, and I'm doing okay. Once we got around the circle, Patrick always asked if anyone wanted to share, and then began the circle jerk of support. Everyone talking about fighting, and battling, and winning, and shrinking and scanning. To be fair to Patrick, he let us talk about dying too, but most of them weren't dying. Most would live into adulthood, as Patrick had, which meant there was quite a lot of competitiveness about it, with everybody wanting to beat not only cancer itself, but also the other people in the room. Like, I realize that this is irrational, but when they tell you that you have, say, a 20% chance of living 5 years, the math kicks in and you figure that's 1 in 5. So you look around and think, as a healthy person would, I gotta last 4 of these bastards. That whole paragraph and sentence thing was in parentheses, that's why I spoke in that way. Anyway, the only redeeming facet of support group was this kid named Isaac, a long-faced, skinny guy with straight blonde hair swept over one eye. And his eyes were the problem. He had some fantastically improbable eye cancer. One eye had been cut out when he was a kid, and now he wore the kind of thick glasses that made his eyes, both the real one and the glass one, preternaturally huge. Like his whole head was basically just this fake eye, and this real eye staring at you. From what I could gather, on the rare occasions when Isaac shared with the group, a recurrence had placed his remaining eye in mortal peril. Isaac and I communicated almost exclusively through sighs. Each time someone discussed anti-cancer diets or snorting ground-up shark fin or whatever, he'd glance over at me and sigh ever so slightly. I'd shake my head microscopically and exhale in response. So support group blew, and after a few weeks, I grew to be rather kickingly screaming about the whole affair. In fact, on the Wednesday I made the acquaintance of Augustus Waters. I tried my level best to get out of support group while sitting on the couch with my mom in a third leg of a 12-hour marathon of the previous season's America's Next Top Model, which admittedly I had already seen, but still. I refuse to attend support group. Mom, one of the symptoms of depression is disinterest in activities. B, please just let me watch America's Next Top Model. It's an activity. Mom, television is a passivity. B, ugh, Mom, please. Mom, Hazel, you're a teenager. You're not a little kid anymore. You need to make friends, get out of the house, and live your life. Me, if you want me to be a teenager, don't send me to support group. Buy me a fake ID so I can go to clubs, drink vodka, and take pot. Mom, you don't take pot for starters. Me, see? That's the kind of thing I'd know if you got me a fake ID. Mom, you're going to support group. Me, ugh. Mom, Hazel, you deserve a life. That shut me up, although I failed to see how attendance at support group met the definition of life. Still, I agreed to go, after negotiating the right to record the 1.5 episodes of America's Next Top Model I'd be missing. I went to support group for the same reason I'd once allowed nurses of a mere 18 months of graduate education to poison me with exotically named chemicals. I wanted to make my parents happy. There is only one thing in this world shittier than biting it from cancer when you're 16, and that's having a kid who bites it from cancer. Mom pulled into the circular driveway behind the church at 4:56. I pretended to fiddle with my oxygen tank for a second just to kill time. Want me to carry it in for you? No, it's fine, I said. The cylindrical green tank only weighed a few pounds. I had this little steel cart to wheel it around behind me. It delivered 2 liters of oxygen to me each minute through a canola, a transparent tube that split just beneath my neck, wrapped behind my ears, and then reunited in my nostrils. The contraption was necessary because my lungs sucked at being lungs. I love you, he said as I got out. You too, Mom. See you at 6. Make friends, she said through the rolled-down window as I walked away. I didn't want to take the elevator, because taking the elevator is a last days kind of activity at support group, so I took the stairs. I grabbed a cookie and poured some lemonade into a Dixie cup, and then turned around. A boy was staring at me. I was quite sure I'd never seen him before. Long and leanly muscular, he dwarfed the molded plastic elementary school chair that he was sitting in. Mahogany hair, straight and short. He looked my age, maybe a year older, and he sat with his tailbone against the edge of the chair. His posture aggressively poor, one hand half in a pocket of dark jeans. I looked away, suddenly conscious of my myriad insufficiencies. I was wearing old jeans, which had once been tight but now sagged in weird places, and a yellow t-shirt advertising a band I didn't even like anymore. Also my hair. I had this page boy haircut. I hadn't even bothered to, brush it. Furthermore, I had ridiculously fat chipmunked cheeks, a side effect of treatment. I looked like a normally proportioned person with a balloon for a head. This was not even to mention the Kankle situation, and yet, I caught a glance to him, and his eyes were still on me. It occurred to me why they call it eye contact. I walked into the circle and sat down next to Isaac, 2 seats away from the boy. I glanced again. He was still watching me. Look, let me just say it. He was hot. A non-hot boy stares at you relentlessly, and it is, at best, awkward and, at worst, a form of assault. But a hot boy? Ugh. I pulled out my phone and clicked it so it would display the time. 4:59. The circle filled in with the unlucky 12 to 18s, and then Patrick started us out with the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know things. The guy was still staring at me. I felt rather blushy. Finally, I decided that the proper strategy was to stare back. Boys do not have a monopoly on the staring business, after all. So I looked him over as Patrick acknowledged for the 1000th time his balllessness, etc. And soon it was a staring contest. After a while, the boy smiled, and then finally his blue eyes glanced away. When he looked back at me, I flicked my eyebrows up to say, I win. He shrugged. Patrick continued, and then finally it was time for the introductions. Isaac, perhaps you'd like to go first today. I know you're facing a challenging time. Yes, Isaac said. I'm Isaac. I'm 17, and it's looking like I have to get surgery in a couple of weeks, after which I'll be blind. Not to complain or anything, because I know a lot of us have it worse, but yeah, being blind does sort of suck. My girlfriend helps, though, and friends like Augustus. He nodded toward the boy, who now had a name. So yeah, Isaac continued. He was looking at his hands, which he had folded into each other like the top of a teepee. There's nothing you can do about it. We're here for you, Isaac, Patrick said. Let Isaac hear it, guys. And then we all, in a monotone, said, We're here for you, Isaac. Michael was next. He was 12. He had leukemia. He'd always had leukemia. He was okay, or so he'd said. He'd take the elevator. Lita was 16, and pretty enough to be the object of the hot boy's eye. She was irregular, in a long remission from appendical cancer, which I had not previously known existed. She said, as she had every other time I attended support group, that she felt strong, which felt like bragging to me, as the oxygen-drizzling nubs tickled my nostrils. There were 5 others before they got to him. He smiled a little when his turn came. His voice was low, smoky, and dead sexy. My name is Augustus Waters, he said. I'm 17. I had a little touch of osteosarcoma a year and a half ago, but I'm just here today at Isaac's request. And how are you feeling? Asked Patrick. Oh, I'm grand. Augustus Waters smiled with a corner of his mouth. I'm on a roller coaster that only goes up, my friend. But it was my turn, I said. My name is Hazel. I'm 16. Thyroid of Mets in my lungs. I'm okay. The hour proceeded apace. Fights were recounted. Battles won amid wars sure to be lost. Hope was clung to. Families were both celebrated and denounced. It was agreed that friends just didn't get it. Tears were shed. Comfort proffered. Neither Augustus Waters nor I spoke again until Patrick said, Augustus, perhaps you'd like to share your fears with the group. My fears? Yes. I fear oblivion, he said without a moment's pause. I fear it like a proverbial blind man who's afraid of the dark. Too soon, Isaac said, cracking a smile. Was that insensitive? Augustus asked. I can be pretty blind to other people's feelings. Isaac was laughing, but Patrick raised a chastening finger and said, Augustus, please, let's return to you and your struggles. You said you fear oblivion? I did, Augustus answered. Patrick seemed lost. Would anyone like to speak to that? I hadn't been in proper school in 3 years. My parents were my 2 best friends. My 3rd best friend was an author who did not know I existed. I was a fairly shy person, not the hand-raising type. And yet, just this once, I decided to speak. I have raised my hand, and Patrick, his delight evident, immediately said, Hazel! I was, I'm sure he assumed, opening up, becoming, in capitals, part of the group. I looked over at Augustus Waters, who looked back at me. You could almost see through his eyes, they were so blue. There will come a time, I said, when all of us are dead. All of us. There will come a time when there are no human beings remaining to remember that anyone ever existed or our species ever did anything. There will be no one left to remember Aristotle or Cleopatra, let alone you. Everything that we did and built and wrote and thought and discovered will be forgotten, and all of this, I gestured encompassingly, will have been for naught. Maybe that time is coming soon, and maybe it is millions of years away. But even if we survive the collapse of our sun, we will not survive forever. There was time before organisms experienced consciousness, and there will be time after. And if the inevitability of human oblivion worries you, I encourage you to ignore it. God knows that's what everyone else does. I learned this from my aforementioned 3rd best friend, Peter Van Houten, the reclusive author of An Imperial Affliction, the book that was as close a thing as I had to a Bible. Peter Van Houten was the only person I ever come across who seemed to A. understand what it was like to not be dying, and B. not have died. After I finished, there was quite a long period of silence as I watched a smile spread all the way across Augustus's face. Not the little crooked smile of the boy trying to be sexy while he stared at me, but his real smile, too big for his face. God damn, Augustus said quietly. Aren't you something else? Neither of us said anything for the rest of support group. As at the end, we all had to hold hands, and Patrick led us in a prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, we're gathered here in your heart, literally in your heart, as cancer survivors. You and you alone know us all, those as we know ourselves. Guide us to life in the light through our times of trial. We pray for Isaac's eyes, for Michael's and Jamie's blood, for Augustus's bones, for Hazel's lungs, for James's throat. We pray that you might heal us, that we might feel your love and your peace, which passes all understanding, and remember in our hearts those who we knew and loved who had gone home to you. Maria and Cade, Joseph and Haley, Abigail and Angelina and Taylor and Gabriel, and it was a long list. The world contained a lot of dead people. In a while, Patrick droned on, reading the list from a sheet of paper because it was too long to memorize. I kept my eyes closed, trying to think prayerfully, but mostly imagining the day when my name would find its way onto that list, although at the end when everyone had stopped listening. When Patrick was finished, we said this stupid mantra together, living our best life today, and it was over. Augustus Waters pushed himself out of his chair and walked over to me. His gait was crooked like his smile. He towered over me, but he kept his distance so I wouldn't have to crane my neck to look at him in the eye. "What's your name?" he asked. "Hazel." "No, your full name." Hazel Grace Lancaster." He was just about to say something else when Isaac walked up. "Hold on," Augustus said, raising a finger and turned to Isaac. "That was actually worse than you made it out to be." "I told you it was big. Why'd you bother with it?" "I don't know, it kinda helps." Augustus leaned in so he thought I couldn't hear. "She's a regular?" I couldn't hear Isaac's comment, but Augustus responded, "I'll say." Clasped Isaac by both shoulders and then took a half step away from him. Tell Hazel about clinic. Isaac leaned a hand against the snack table and focused his huge eye on me. "Okay, so I went into clinic this morning, and I was telling my surgeon I'd rather be deaf than blind. He said, it doesn't work that way. I was like, yeah, I realize it doesn't work that way. Just saying I'd rather be deaf than blind if I had the choice, which I realize I don't have. And he said, well, the good news is that you won't be deaf. And I was like, thank you for explaining that my eye cancer isn't going to make me deaf. I feel so fortunate that an intellectual giant like yourself would deign to operate on me." "He sounds like a winner," I said. "Gonna try to get me some eye cancer just so I can make this guy's quiz." "Good luck with that." "Alright, I should go. Monica's waiting for me. Gotta look at her a lot while I can." "Counter tomorrow?" Augustus asked. "Definitely." Isaac turned and ran up the stairs, taking them two at a time. Augustus Waters turned to me. "Literally," he said. "Literally?" I asked. "We are literally in the heart of Jesus," he said. "I thought we were in a church basement, but we are literally in the heart of Jesus." "Something to tell Jesus," I said. "I mean, it's gotta be dangerous, storing children with cancer in your heart." "I would tell him myself," Augustus said. "But unfortunately, I'm literally stuck inside of his heart, so he won't be able to hear me." I laughed. He shook his head, just looking at me. "What?" I asked. "Nothing," he said. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Augustus half smiled. "Because you're beautiful. I enjoy looking at beautiful people. I decided a while ago not to deny myself the simpler pleasures of existence." A brief, awkward silence ensued. Augustus plowed through. I mean, particularly given that, as he so deliciously pointed out, all this will end in oblivion. Everything. I kind of scoffed or sighed or exhaled in a way that was vaguely coffee, and then said, "I'm not You're like a millennial Natalie Portman. Like V for Vendetta, Natalie Portman." Never seen it," I said. "Really?" he asked. "Pixie-haired, gorgeous girl just looks 30 and can't help but fall for a boy she knows is trouble. It's your autobiography, so far as I can tell." His every syllable flirted. Honestly, he kind of turned me on. I didn't even know that guys could turn me on. Not like in real life. A young girl walked past us. "How's it going, Lisa?" he asked. She smiled and mumbled. "Hi, Augustus." "Memorial people," he explained. Memorial was a big research hospital. "Where do you go?" "Children's," I said, my voice smaller than I expected. "It to be?" He nodded. The conversation seemed over. "Well," I said, nodding vaguely towards the steps that led us out of the literal heart of Jesus. I tilted my cart onto its wheels and started walking. He limped beside me. So, see you next time, maybe? I asked. You should see it, he said. V for Vendetta, I mean. Okay, I said. I'll look it up. No, with me. At my house, he said. Now. I stopped walking. I hardly know you, Augustus Waters. You could be an axe murderer. He nodded. True enough, Hazel Grace. He walked past me, his shoulders filling out his green knit polo shirt, his back straight, his steps lilting just slightly to the right as he walked, steady and confident on what I had determined was a prosthetic leg. Osteosarcoma sometimes takes a limb to check you out. Then if it likes you, it takes the rest. Ugh. I followed him upstairs, losing ground as I made my way up slowly, stairs not being a field of experience for my lungs. And then we were out of Jesus' heart, in the parking lot, spring air just on the cold side of the perfect, late afternoon light heavenly in its hurtfulness. Mom wasn't there yet, which was unusual, because Mom was always waiting for me. I glanced around and saw that a tall, curvy brunette girl had Isaac pinned against the stone wall of the church, kissing him rather aggressively. They were close enough to me that I could hear the weird noises of their mouths together. I could hear him saying, always, and her saying, always, in return. Simply standing next to me, Gus's half whispered, they're big believers in PPA. What's with the always? The slurping sounds intensified. Always is their thing. They'll always love each other and whatever. I'll conservatively estimate they have texted each other the word always 4 million times in the last year. A couple more cars drove up, taking Michael and Elisa away. It was just Augustus and me now, watching Isaac and Monica, who proceeded at pace as if they were not leaning against a place of worship. His hand reached for her boob over her shirt and pawed at it, his palm still while his fingers moved around. I wonder if that felt good. It didn't seem like it would, but I decided to forgive Isaac on the grounds that he was going blind. The senses must feast while there is yet hunger, whatever. Imagine taking that last drive to the hospital, I said quietly. Last time you ever drive a car. Without looking at me, Augustus said, You're killing my vibe here, Hazel Grace. Trying to observe young love in its many splendored awkwardness. I think he's hurting your boob. Yes, it's difficult to ascertain whether he is trying to rouse her to perform a breast exam. Then Augustus Waters reached into a pocket and pulled out, of all things, a pack of cigarettes. He flipped it open and put a cigarette between his lips. Are you serious? I asked. You think that's cool? Oh my god, he just ruined the whole thing. Which whole thing? He asked, turning to me. The cigarette dangled unlit from the unsmiling corner of his mouth. The whole thing where a boy who's not unattractive or unintelligent or seemingly in any way unacceptable stares at me and points out incorrect use of literally, and compares me to actresses and asks me to watch a movie at his house. But of course there's always a Marcia, and yours is that, oh my god, even though he had freaking cancer, you give money to a company in exchange for the chance to acquire yet more cancer. Oh my god. Let me just assure you that not being able to breathe sucks. Totally disappointing. Totally. Marcia? He asked, cigarette still in his mouth. It tightened his jaw. He had a hell of a jawline, unfortunately. A fatal flaw, I explained, turning away from him. I stepped toward the curb, leaving Gus's Waters behind me. Then I heard a car start down the street. It was Mom. She had been waiting for me to, make friends or whatever. I felt this weird mix of disappointment and anger welling up inside of me. I don't even know what the feeling was, really. Just that there was a lot of it. And I wanted to smack Gus's Waters and almost replace my lungs with lungs that didn't suck at being lungs. I was standing with my Chuck Taylors on the very edge of the curb, the oxygen tank ball and chaining in the cart by my side, and right as my mom pulled up, I felt a hand grab mine. I yanked my hand free, but turned back to him. They don't kill you unless you light them, he said as Mom arrived on the curb. That I would ever lit one. It's a metaphor, see. Put the killing thing right between your teeth. We don't give it the power to do its killing. It's a metaphor, I said. Mom was just idling. It's a metaphor. You choose your behaviors based on their metaphorical resonances, I said. Oh yes, he said. A big goofy real smile. I'm a big believer in metaphor here. I turned to the car, tapped the window, and rolled down. I'm going to a movie with Gus's Waters, I said. Please record the next several episodes of the America's Next Top Marathon for me. And that, my friend, is the end of Chapter 1 of The Fault in Our Stars. Featuring the music of... I forgot what song was playing at this particular Alliance base. Okay, I'm going to continue off Chapter 2 at a later point. Don't know whether it'll be this stream or ever. But we're going to play some fucking games. I'm sorry. I spent a half hour of your life reading The Fault in Our Stars. To be fair, it's a pretty good book. And I read it for school. So, you know, I have, or college specifically, I took a few classes while I was doing I was in the math education program for a while. And although I had to switch majors to just be applied math, I did have a minor in education. And one of the classes I took was a book about young adult novels and how they affected kids. And that was one of the books that we had to read for that particular class. So, that is how I came across the book, The Fault in Our Stars, which the movie is based on. And you see, the reason it's called The Fault in Our Stars is because it is a reference to something that happens in the Caesar play about Julius Caesar, where Brutus and another senator are talking, and they are cursing their fate, saying that it was written in the stars, but one of them was like, nah, the fault isn't our stars, it's the fault in ourselves. We need to make the changes that we need to in order to do the thing. It turns out that the thing was kill Caesar with 33 senators stabbing him, but that's besides the point. You know. Hence why it's called The Fault in Our Stars. Anyway. So, I don't know quite what I missed around here. I do have some quests to turn in, so we're going to do that, actually. As you know. Anyway. Got a lot of stuff to turn in. And some stuff to do at Thundara today. Because it also happens to be PSO2 day. For like a day and a half equivalent, basically, of Phantasy Online 2. And that's what we're doing. Alright. So what I'm doing with Thundara right now is I have a few classes maxed out on her, actually. I'm just in the process of maxing out the Luster class. Specifically, my game plan is this. I switch between a lot of different playstyles when I play this character. Because, well, I like to adapt to the situation and stuff and try different things sometimes. So in short, I maximized Detector, Bouncer, and Atoa classes on her. I maxed out the Luster class on my Chip 1 main Nidalee. So, there's that. And right now I'm just maxing out Luster on her, so that I have something that I can switch to sometimes when I do other classes, and feel like using a Gunblade on a rare occasion. Because what the Luster does is a subclass is it augments your Gunblade skill. Anyway. Alright, I forgot, I have a bunch of discs that I can use to feed my mag. I feed these two because they're the ones I use the most. Anyway, enough of that. We have dailies. What's today's daily? A broken world of twisted shadows. Featuring Augustus Waters. Wait, what? Oh, damn it, man. I also have some drink that I need to drink because that was actually a pretty hefty chapter to read. Holy merd. Oh shit, they already began the mission, fuck. Damn it. Alright, I need to get in there. Let me in. Anyway, what I'm wearing is the Tender Emerald, I believe it's called. It's like a set from... Oh, what set, honestly? Unfortunately, I didn't reach that one in time. Did, however, reach the rest of this in time. I need to... sometimes... Anyway. Alright, we can actually do things now. Thank God. Well, at least you got those two down. Before everything fucked it, and there's an Abomination of Mankind there for April Fools. We found our actually in-game April Fool's joke. Okay. Also, the weapon I'm using with her is the Atlas EX weapon. Basically, it is a gunblade. 15-star that, well, is okay. However, I happen to have a augment on it that gives me life drain, basically. So that will stack with everything else I do that does life drain with the luster. So, you know. A lot of healing going on with this particular one. Okay. We got the pugilist. You want us to let us dance? Will you say your line? Very easy on twisters at that point. Anyway, let's go. It is that time again. To go hog wild and dehumanize and destroy enemy. I'm willing to bet that this is going to be anti-gunblade. Which is fine. Actually, it's not. I'm surprised. Also weak to light, which is absolutely perfect, actually, for a lot of people that are here. Alright, there's rare drop. Alright. He gave us a weapon. I don't know how many I have this character, honestly. I don't really spend them with this one. Oh, I have a title reward. What is it? Welcome. Dreamwalker! Oh yeah! I did that, holy shit. Okay. Alright, what that's done here. I'll have to go back into that definitely to get the other 2 Achievos. See you later. Also, we have stuff that we can identify, sell, grind into crap.
Take care now.
Grinding time. This music is also going to drive me absolutely fucking insane. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I feel like this song has to be an April Fool's joke. Not sure. Fair ambition. Actually, fuck, I need to give my main on ship 1 that one. That's hilarious. Anyway. So, I probably have some asteroids somewhere. Gonna turn it into boosters. So I can buy some all the boosters later. Because I'm building a pair of rivalet jet boots for this one. Anyway. Oh, hello. Now we're at 3 people. If he showed up earlier, he would have listened to a half hour of me reading The Fault in the Stars. Anyway. I might actually read more of that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that on stream today. Or ever again. You know. But if there's like a interest in reading aloud various books, I could do that in the future. So it's not a completely against the principle of the thing here. I don't know. Anyway. I got some keys I can make use of. But before we do any of that, we're going to try to actually take on the mission proper here. There we go. Then we'll go on the expedition proper and, you know, shit around there, I suppose. First one here. That's unusual. I'll use the, I used the EX Tri Boost plus 200, so I don't need that right now. Okay. Anyway, Luster. You can do an attack while you slide. That's the thing. Oh yeah, about this weapon. Well, technically I have a Ceres Lever equipped. That gives you something called Everlasting Pulse, which is... or Everlasting Life. You can pick one of the variants when you upgrade this thing. Basically, it gives you boost damage reducing effects on you, so it take less damage, basically. Galazal's EX. So I have the following on this one. This is actually one of the ones from the... There was a promotion a couple months ago where if you complete a certain number of missions, you could get some free 15-star weapons. I figured with this character, I was not very good at leveling up stuff with her initially, other than just getting experience on her. So I wanted to give her some weapons that she could like use and change in other things and that sort of thing. Anyway, so when you augment the Alazal ZX here, you get Unflagging Spirit, which increases the effect of like its damage and stuff by 10%. It will also save you of 1 hit point. However, the real meat and potatoes here is we have Voton Descent 2. It reduces the consumption of power points by 10%. We have Luster Strike 2. It increases the photon point recovery by 20%. And Luminous Grace 2 increases the recovery speed for 20%. Lastly, Lifesteal Strike. It gives me 1% of the damage I deal as HP when I attack, 30 max. Which is fine enough, because Luster also has a mechanic where you can build up voltage. And when that wears off, there's an ability that can heal you for a certain percentage of the amount of volts that you accumulated. So, you know, Gunblade to survive. Anyway, enough of that. I see that when someone's being a twat today. A star. Alright, there we go. We're in now, kids. That was weird, I couldn't slide there initially. They'll shut me up, huh? I think they're gonna die. Alright, I think someone might have like an Hour Pain Omega or something like that. So I see a lot of bigger blue numbers that are still kind of small, like in the 3 digits. That doesn't seem like damage. Oh well, it's fine. Also, I completed a Alliance order, I think. Oh, Tainted Foul Spawn. Cool. I guess these guys count as Tainted Foul Spawn. Alright, there we go. More bear dropped. Alright, and we're out of here. We have a couple of questies. Hopefully, Ryojo will 80.
Preparing to fully mobilize for an assault operation on Mothership Shiva. All ARC's operatives should prepare
Mothership Shiva.
for deployment immediately.
Oh, I'll be able to get that on stream. Nice.
How you doing?
That way, people know what the hell I'm talking about when I talk about fighting the Great Mighty Pooh. Anyway. Still have a lot of XP that we have to turn in here. Alright, I suppose it is worth checking to see if there are any quests I can pick up gathering.
I've been expecting you.
Button onto artifacts. Don't have a tusk. No bellfish. I suppose since the Easter event involves going to Las Vegas, might not be a bad idea to pick up suppressed UFOs for that reason. Anyway, in about 14 minutes, we're going to see a new urgent quest that came out roughly a month ago, I want to say. Something like that.
Glad you made it.
Alright. You got a few
Please come by again.
things to do.
Oh, back again, I see.
Just could pick up some of these request ones here. Something for auxiliaries to do. Meantime. Actually, I suppose if I'm gonna do the Great Mighty Pooh, I'm gonna switch to a different build actually.
Bye now.
So, first we're gonna go personal quarters and send my auxiliaries on gathering quest. I have 5 in the ship, with this character at least. I named them after, well, with the exception of Pompadour Man, I named them after characters in D&D campaigns that I've either been a player of or I have DM'd myself. So there's that. Valtira is a character that was run by a friend of mine. Same for Kala. Beryl is a character that I created as an NPC for something. Titania is a character that is yet to be. Pompadour Man might also make an appearance in a future campaign, I'm not sure. The name gimmicks, I have each character's auxiliaries on different ships. I have different gimmicks. So, alright, so I don't have a quest to take for Zeg.
What do you require? Thank you very much. I look forward to your next visit.
This will give me
Leave it to me.
ice.
Oh, this is a
Gave me
great
a Dio
find.
weapon.